The Financial Survival Network, helping you survive and thrive in the new economy. Go to CarrieLutz.com and sign up for 30 free micro trainings on financial survival.
This show is brought to you by Miles Franklin. When it comes to protecting your wealth, there's nothing better than gold and silver. And when it comes to buying gold and silver, there's no better place than Miles Franklin. They've been in business for 22 years, and I'm a customer because when you buy, they ship. Go to milesfranklin.com or call them at 800-822-8080. 1490 WGCH, this is Kerry Lutz. You're listening to the Financial Survival Network. Time for another Triple Lutz report. The title of this one is Rush is Almost Right. Here's the thing. He's talking about a woman. Name is irrelevant. I don't even want to go there. And she's testifying before the Senate, absolutely demanding that her school's health insurance pay for contraceptives. And she threw out a number of something around $3,000 a year. Even $1,000 a year is outrageous. And the real argument isn't how much her contraception costs, or as Rush said, he said she was a slut, a prostitute, round-heeled, said a lot of nasty personal things about this lady. And not right. What happens when you personalize the attacks, when it becomes just an ad hominem attack on someone, when you're talking about freedom, when you're talking about the proper role of government, when you're talking about the fact that the free lunch is over, that we don't have the money to pay for everything that everybody wants from the government, when you personalize the attack, you de-emphasize the underlying philosophical issues, the ideas that are involved in the debate. And then it becomes a he said, she said thing. And look, Rush has lost some advertisers. He's taken some hits in the press. He doesn't care. The guy is probably very close to being a billionaire. So what if he loses Select Comfort beds? I thought that was really ironic. Here we're talking about promiscuity, and Sleep Number Beds pulls out. So there's a little bit of irony that hopefully we have a sense of humor left in this country and we can all have a good laugh about. More importantly, though, is what should the government force people to do? What should the government force insurance companies to pay for? And that's what this is. The whole health care bill, everything that the government does in medicine for medical care, and it's really not health care, it's really sick care when you get down to it, it's all dictated by pointy-headed bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., and in the state capitals. And the problem is that in New York State, I would like to get a high deductible insurance policy because I'm paying double what I should be. If I could get a high deductible insurance policy and pay for certain things out of pocket, which I pay for anyway, and just have coverage for catastrophic or hospitalization and for doctors when it exceeds a certain price level, a certain threshold, I would be extremely happy with that. But New York state law makes insurance companies, health insurers, pay for everything. Even if you're sick, they have to take you on as a policyholder. They can't deny you coverage for pre-existing conditions. And the fact of the matter is, as sympathetic as I would be towards somebody who's got cancer and can't get health insurance, somebody's got to pay for this. Now, the government can pay for it, the individual can pay for it, or a combination of the two, or charities can help. Many of these pharmaceutical companies that are able to charge outrageous, rapacious prices because the government regulates drugs and their prices, and because of the patent system and numerous other issues, actually give people chemo drugs for free. I've seen it done. But there's a lot of problems in the health system. People are too fat. They smoke. They do all sorts of things injurious to their health. And therefore, we're forced to pay for the effects of their bad behavior or their less than healthy behavior. And that is a problem. But the real problem is that the government got involved in the healthcare system in the first place. That was with Medicare, then Medicaid, then prescription drug coverage, you name it. The fact of the matter is, a lot of the debate about Obamacare is just a debate about extremes. Right now, the government pays for half, 50% of the health care in the country. Under Obamacare, it's probably going to go up to 80 or 100%. The total bill for health care is going to double, triple, quadruple. The fact of the matter is, when you're using other people's money, you're never as careful and as discriminating as when you use your own. For instance, you have a cold, you're not feeling good. Right now, if you're a government worker, you have a very small copayment, if any, so you pick up the phone, you call the doctor, and you go. And you never think about the price. And this is the way it is for most people on Medicare, right? There's a small copay, if any. They pay a premium for the coverage. They don't think about the price. But if that copay was 50%, all of a sudden it becomes a decision. Well, it's going to cost me $50 or $75 out of pocket. Do I really need to go to the doctor, or could I just go to the pharmacy and get some cough syrup, some vitamins, and some zinc and treat it myself? This is what used to happen. You didn't have insurance. I remember when I was a kid, doctors made house calls, and I remember my mother giving the doctor $10 or $15. I'm not that old, by the way. I'm not that old. This is in mid-60s. And the doctor came, gave me a shot of penicillin in the butt, take 2 aspirin and call me in the morning, and that was that. If he charged $100 or $150, got to think about it. And in fact, an interesting trend that has occurred is concierge service by doctors. They're fed up with the forms. They're fed up dealing with the bureaucracy, dealing with the insurance companies. And don't get me wrong, I don't like these insurance companies, these health insurance companies. I despise them. They make your life a living hell. They're in the business of denying legitimate claims. That's what they do. Any way they can screw you on a reimbursement, they will do it. And I've seen it time and time over and over again. But why are they in that position? Because of your government. Plain and simple. There's no other reason. The government allows big companies, corporativism, to steal from the individual. And the fact of the matter is, these companies wouldn't be in that position if the government hadn't put them there. In New York State, there's very few health insurance companies because New York State, you have to jump through so many hoops and through beds of hot coals to get an insurance license. It's not to say you don't need some protection. You do, because companies will go into business. You don't want fly-by-night companies being in the insurance business, but that's where transparency comes in. It's easy now for all potential health insurance consumers, or shall I say victims, to look up the records of their potential health insurer and see how many complaints have been filed, how many lawsuits, if lawsuits are allowed, etc. So the fact of the matter is, this debate is really a debate about government picking up the tab for everything. And that's probably what's going to happen. It doesn't matter who gets elected. That's irrelevant because both parties have put us into this mess. Until we go back and address the core functions of government, which, in my opinion, and I hope you agree with me, is number 1, to protect us from external enemies. Number 2, to protect us from internal enemies. Number 3 is to help protect the integrity of the free market. Okay, that's it. To provide a judicial system that peacefully settles disputes between inhabitants. That's all I want to hear about. I don't want them buying stuff for people. I don't want them giving people stuff. The fact is, when the government's 50%, if you cut out 80% of what the government does and give it back to the people and stop going through this deficit spending, inflationary thing, our living standards would increase by so much. Taxes could go back down to 15%. Now, I'm not a dreamer. I don't believe this is going to happen overnight. But when the big crash comes, when the ultimate failure is here, what I am hopeful of is that people will have heard me. They will have heard the Mises Institute, Mises.org. They will have heard Peter Schiff. They'll have heard Doug Casey. They'll have heard Yaron Brook. Enough knowledge will be out there so that people will understand why the ultimate collapse has occurred. What was done? Why did the government cause it? Why didn't we have sound money? Why was there allowed to be inflationary money printing to the moon? People, you need to know all these things because they're all contributing factors. And it all comes down to society and the individual. What do you want your government to do? At least half the people right now are happy with the government assuming these roles. The only thing they're unhappy about is that the government isn't doing more. California is almost bankrupt, or arguably is bankrupt, because they're doing too much. New York State, right behind. The only thing that's keeping New York State afloat is Wall Street, and we'll see how long that party lasts for. Illinois, bankrupt. State after state after state is bankrupt because of overly generous, overly expansive government. So the issue here, Rush, is not this young lady's morals, which we can all have our opinion on. Let's not make this a discussion of morality. Yes, it's a discussion of morality, of what functions a moral government undertakes to ensure a civil society and to allow people to achieve their maximum potential and still be free. That's what the debate is about. And the other thing is, this debate is planted. It's part of an election year strategy. It started when George Stephanopoulos, who is an obvious stooge, was at a debate and asked Mitt Romney a question about states denying availability of contraceptives. That's when this whole idiocy started. It was set up by the incumbent's campaign to make it an issue. So we're debating whether or not people should have access to something that they have an unfettered right to have access to, and instead are ignoring the economic collapse, the destruction of the United States as an economic superpower. That's what we're looking at. And to help you ignore your ever-encroaching freedoms being taken away and you becoming a vassal of your country, your state, even your town or city. So the next time you hear this debate, turn it off. It is not the debate. It is subterfuge. It is a smokescreen. It is a fraud for the honest debate of what do you want your government to do for you. And from my perspective, the less they do, the better, because the more freedom you'll have and the less corruption, waste, and potential for totalitarianism, authoritarianism that we're inexorably marching towards. This is Kerry Lutz, but another Triple Lutz Report, signing off.